William Taft was a great big man. He stood 6 foot tall and weighed 330 pounds. He loved to eat and he loved to laugh. His wife affectionately called him Sleeping Beauty because during meals, formal dinners at the White House, funerals, concerts, and even church, William Taft would slowly nod and his big head would fall to his chest and he would sleep for 10 to 15 minutes and then he would wake up and resume whatever conversation he had been holding. Later, after he left the White House, Taft ended up losing 80 pounds. He said, "I gave up bread, potatoes, pork, and liquor. That's what did it for me." Well, Taft was a great guy. He was really good with people. Out of all the presidents, if you could sit down and talk with Taft, he probably would make you feel right at home. He was a people pleaser. He was smooth and kind and generous, had an easy laugh, and he wasn't really ambitious. So you might ask, how in the world did this big guy make it to the White House? Well, behind every good man, successful man, is a strong woman. And that is true with William Taft. His wife, Nellie, adored him, and she had great ambitions for him. She knew that with Taft's political pedigree, his parents, his education, his friendship with Teddy Roosevelt, that he could go all the way into the White House. Now, the irony is that Taft never wanted to be president. And while many presidents say that, he actually didn't want to. He wanted to be a Supreme Court judge. But I guess I'll be president since Teddy Roosevelt wants me to, and everyone loves him, and I'm good friends with him, and my wife really wants me to. Okay, and he accepted the presidential nomination from the Republican Party. Now get this, his wife, who knew that Taft had some things that were pretty easy to make fun of with falling asleep and his weight, as soon as Taft accepted the political nomination for the Republican Party, she jumped on a train and went to the Democrat National Convention in Baltimore to crash it. She got there and she got a seat right in the front row, right in front of the podium. And as orator after orator stepped onto the stage, because they knew that Taft was going to be their opponent, she would stare down the orators. Her arms were crossed, her foot was tapping, and she would just look at them and just dare them to say something bad about her husband. Well, politicians back during this time had a lot more class than the ones we have now, and many of them, even William Jennings Bryan, who spoke his mind a lot, saw the wife of Mr. Taft sitting in the front row, and out of respect for her, they kept their comments about Taft at a pretty neutral level. They said a couple of disparaging things, but they didn't get as nasty as they would have if she wasn't there. Taft had a pretty good presidency. He was able to accomplish a lot, but at the end of his presidency, he had a falling out with Teddy Roosevelt. And Teddy Roosevelt said, "Well, you're not kind of doing the way that I want it. I'm going to run for president again." And that split the Republican ticket. And the next president was a Democrat, and Taft was defeated. And he was kind of bitter about it. I don't know if he and Teddy Roosevelt ever really became friends again. But his dream did come true, because later one of the sitting presidents put Taft in as the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. And he loved it. He loved the law. He loved doing what a judge does. And several years later, someone asked him about the presidency, and he quipped, "President? I don't even remember being the president." He was so happy doing what he did. You see, one of the cool things about Taft is you see his success and his happiness at home. And a lot of it goes directly to his wife. She adored him. She supported him. She believed in him. And if you contrast Taft with Abraham Lincoln, who everyone would say Lincoln was a much better president, no one would say that Lincoln had a happy home life. His wife was miserable and bitter and emotional, and she would cut him down, and Lincoln's great sympathy for the slaves and for the sufferers of the Civil War came out of his terrible home life. Like, he knew what it was like to suffer. Taft, on the other hand, was blessed to have a wife who would by herself, jump on a train and stomp into the middle of the Democratic National Convention and dare every single speaker to say one bad thing about her husband. She was so strong and she was so good. I know a lot of times in these talks I talk about you're going to do great things and God has a destiny for you and you can change the world, and that is all true. But what if the way you were supposed to change the world is through a family member you love and support? You see, we can't all be president. We can't all be in charge. We can't all be up front. But every person who is president or in charge or up front, they have hundreds of good, loving people who support them, who pray for them, who will stare down bad people who want to talk bad about them. Maybe your greatness is not the great thing that you do, but the great person that you defend, the great person that you love, that you listen to, that you encourage. Now, I think you can do both. But greatness starts at home. There's a great video on YouTube where some admiral of the Navy is saying, if you want to make the world a better place, make your own bed. You start there. If you want to impact people, if you want to be an influencer, if you want to be a leader, if you want to do great things, start with your family. Your husband or your wife, they need you to be their number one fan. Your kids, they need you to be consistent and loving. Your brothers and sisters, your mom and dad, whoever's the closest to you, they need you, not to be perfect, but to be accepting. Nellie loved her Big Billy. She called him her Sleeping Beauty. She loved him, and she would have fought like a tiger for him. She did everything she could to help him, and he adored her. And their home life was awesome. We can give that gift to our family members. Now, some of us have family members that are great. Some of us have family members that are so annoying or maybe even abusive. And you need to protect yourself. But remember, when we love the people who are around us, that starts to change hearts and lives. A wise woman once said, only by love is love awakened. And today, the hero of our story isn't necessarily the president. It's his wife. Because she loved him. She supported him. And through him, she changed the world. God bless.